I was hanging around the lobster tank when I noticed that one of the female lobsters was missing some rubber bands on her claws. And this could only mean one thing. This lobster molted. Notice how squishy she is and how vulnerable she is. I put my finger in her claw and she doesn't even have the capability of pinching me. So to protect her from the other lobsters, we put her in her own tank like we do with all the others that molt, and soon she'll become hard again. So yeah, pretty cool. This is another excellent question. So lumpfish are not very athletic and they're very food motivated. So you're able to just pick them right up when it's time for feedings. Also, they're used to being held because we have to weigh them all the time. I get this question all the time and I've already addressed it, but I thought I'd do it again. How do the crabs and other organisms get into the drain? These guys are much too big to come through the intake because they'd have to come through the filter. So I think they're coming through the main drain. This is just a big hole that goes out to the ocean, and I'm guessing there's a big pipe out there that they can crawl through. And this is actually where I found Cedric about 1.5 years ago. So yeah, pretty cool.
He want my number, had to hit him with the fantasizing, got him fiending for this. Thick thighs, got him busting out the jeans. Yeah, real dope vibe, turn these niggas into fiends. Yeah, I like them nasty, bad bitch, having cake.
For a final time, let's see what we can find in the drains today. By the back of the lab, we found a pair of Jonah crabs. These guys weren't doing much, just eating. You can see this guy's mouth parts moving. Kind of cool. But we grabbed them and we put them into the crab collection. At the next spot, it may seem like there's 2 Jonah crabs in here, when in actuality, this one is the molted shell of the other. So crabs and lobsters molt to grow, and this Jonah crab is no exception. Notice he is very squishy and a little bit bigger than the shell that he came out of. Soon he'll harden up and be a normal crab again. But for now, we're gonna put him into the crab collection. So yeah, pretty cool.
Upon looking in the tank, it may seem that there are several dead lobsters scattered throughout. However, there is a squishy boy among the lobsters. That is right, the lobster that is being picked on is very squishy and has just shed its exoskeleton to grow during the molting process. This lobster is just molted. However, it is missing 2 legs on the left side and 1 on the right due to the fact that the other lobsters were picking on him and eating him alive. If kept in that tank, this lobster would have surely been eaten, but gets its own tank to survive. This lobster is very beautiful and very powerful.
We had another code red at the lab today. Another lobster molted. So lobsters molt to grow, and when they molt, they become very squishy and vulnerable. Thankfully, I found this lobster right in time. None of the other lobsters got to her and started eating her. Notice how squishy she is. She can hardly defend herself when she's like this. This lobster was actually chasing her around. But don't worry, she's getting her own tank, and in the coming weeks she'll harden up and she'll be back to doing normal lobster things. It is time for everyone's favorite segment, checking the drains. So in this first one, I actually found a little spider crab. I'm actually finding more and more of these in the drains. I'm not sure why. It might be because of the season change, but yeah, definitely a cool find. We put them in the sea tray. Ooh, he flipped over, but I flipped him back over. There he goes. In this next drain, I actually found a little Jonah crab. Again, finding more and more of these in the drain. So yeah, definitely another cool find. This one looks like it just molted. And then in the last drain, we found a pretty decently sized sea urchin by the main drain. So yeah, I just grabbed this guy and put him with the sea urchin collection. Pretty cool. It is time to check the drains again. In this first drain, we found a little green sea urchin, and he had really long spines, which was really unique, so I thought he was pretty cool. A lot of you guys wonder how these organisms get into the drain, and truly I have no idea. My guess is there is a hose that they crawl up in order to get into the drain. Next, we found a little Jonah crab. This is different from the rock crab because they have slightly bigger claws, and their claws have little black tips as well. But this was a little male, and he got a little feisty with me, so we put him into the crab collection. Next, we found a green crab. It is red, but it is a green crab. Green crabs turn red during the mating season, so yeah, pretty cool. It is time for another installment of Checking the Drains. This first drain was pretty cool. We had a bunch of little baby mussels that likely settled there when they were larvae, and a little green sea urchin. This guy was stuck to a brick, so I plucked him off, and you know the drill. Put him with the sea urchin collection. This next find was pretty strange. It was a juvenile lobster in the drain itself, and I think what happened here was this guy was in one of the big lobster tanks and got sucked into the drain pipe and ended up in the floor drain. So yeah, nevertheless, we put him in its own tank. And then this last drain was really cool. We found a green crab, a rock crab, and another sea urchin. And they all went into their collections. So yeah, pretty cool. It is time to see what we can find in the drains again. So in this first one, we found a green crab. We actually haven't seen one in a while. This one was right in the drain. So yeah, it was just a little female. She's trying to pinch me here, but we put her in the crab collection. The next drain, we found a little male Jonah crab. We're actually seeing more and more of these in the drain. I'm not sure why, but we picked him up and put him in the crab collection. And then in this last drain, we actually found another sea urchin. This one was smaller than the one we found last time, but nonetheless, we're going to put him in the sea urchin collection. So yeah. Pretty cool. It is time for everyone's favorite segment, Checking the Drains again. So after a little bit of searching, we found a pretty big Jonah crab. It's pretty cool how these guys don't fight back or try to pinch you when you pick them up. They'd much rather huddle up and hug themselves as a form of protection. And that's exactly what this guy's doing here. So yeah, into the crab collection it goes. And then in another drain, we found a little sea urchin with a hat on. Now the running water made his hat fall off, but sea urchins like to put things on their head as a form of camouflage. So they'll put pieces of shells or pieces of seaweed on top of themselves in order to camouflage themselves in their environment. So yeah, pretty cool. It is time to check the drains again and see what we can find. So this first drain doesn't seem like much, but if you look closely, we found a little sea squirt. Sea squirts get their names because when you pick them up, they sometimes squirt water at you. And they are in the phylum Chordata, meaning that they are chordates like us. So they are related to us. But they're considered urochordates because they don't have a true spinal cord or column. But they're still chordates. In this next drain, we found a fairly large green sea urchin. He was just cruising along, so I picked him up and I put him in the sea tray with his other sea urchin friends. The last thing we found was a pretty large Jonah crab. He was trying to get out here, so I picked her up and I put her in the crab collection. Pretty cool. It is time to check the drains once again. So looking in this first drain, we actually found a green crab in the drain again. So this was just a little female green crab. as you can see from her apron on her stomach, and then we just put her in the crab collection. Looking at the next strain, we found 2 more green crabs. I believe it was a male and a female, but they weren't mating, they were just hanging out together. So we grabbed them and we put them in the crab collection. And then a first for the drains was a small little rock crab. These look a lot like Jonah crabs, but you can tell the difference because they don't have black tips on their claws. So yeah, pretty cool. Let's see what the drains have in store for us today. It's been getting warmer, so hopefully we'll find some more cool stuff in the drains. In this first one, we found a green sea urchin. This guy had very long spines and was very cool looking, so we put him into the green sea urchin collection. The next strain was a little clogged, but you can see a crab in there. This is a female Jonah crab, and we put her into the crab collection. And then the next one, we found a little male Jonah crab. So yeah, pretty cool.